Create an assignment. Creating an assignment in Blackboard Learn is a pretty straightforward process. The key is you need to remember creating an assignment has to take place in a content area. So this can be inside of any content area at all. There's no specific tool area that it needs to be in other than just any content area. So this means you could go into a learning module and you could create an assignment inside of here. You could create a content area on your course navigation menu and call it assignments, and you could actually make them inside of there, and that's entirely up to you. Something we recommend, of course, is making it where it's relevant for the student, such as in a learning module or some area where the student is going to have a good context for that assignment. But you can certainly add links to an assignment later on. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and make the assignment inside of example learning module. So I've gone into content, example, and then I'm moving into this learning module, and we can see that here this is where I'm going to create and deploy this assignment. The way that we do that is we actually go up to this top menu and we look for assessments. And once we hover over assessments, we're going to see that we can create an assignment. So again, assessments to assignment. Once we've selected assignment, we're going to give it a name. And then here's where we would put our instructions, okay? So this would be, if we have an attachment that we want the students to download and complete, if we want them to, write a paper, whatever, inside of this assignment, this is where we would put the instructions. Next, if we're looking to add an attachment, we can either browse a content collection or we can browse my computer and attach it, and it goes right in there. Next, we want to look at possible points. So if you just have a straight point value, you can say this is worth 20 points, or you can add a rubric, and that's another training that we can get into a little bit later. But adding a rubric is as simple as selecting the rubric or creating a new one. Next, let's look at availability. This seems to throw folks a little bit sometimes. So I want to talk about availability and due dates. So making the assignment available means that the students can actually see this assignment. The number of attempts, this is it's not exactly tricky, but you want to think through how you want to set this up. You can allow a single attempt. That means the student can upload it one time and that's it. You don't get to return it to the student if you want them to make corrections. It's a one-shot deal. You can allow unlimited attempts or a certain number of attempts. You can actually configure the system to grade maybe the last one submitted or one that you want to select, and you can determine that, and we'll cover that in a separate training video. But I want you to think through up front, if you want to be able to return this to students for multiple attempts, then you're going to want to allow either unlimited or set a certain number of attempts that you want them to have. If you want just one time, you're not going to be returning it to the student for feedback and having them resubmit, allow single attempt is what you want. Next, limit availability. Again, this is the display after and display until date. So this will remain hidden before and then hidden after these two dates. This is not the same thing as due date, which we'll cover in just a moment. This is, can the student see this or not? So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and unselect these. I'm going to leave it the availability unlimited. So next, let's take a look at due date. If there is a specific due date for an assignment, this is where you want to set it. You can write it in the instructions right up here, but you don't need to by any means, and it doesn't tell the system when it's truly due. You want to set the due date for when it's actually due. It's important to note that students can continue to submit in the system after the due date, and it's simply marked as late inside of the Grade Center. So if you allow late submissions, but you deduct some points or something like that, this is where you can set that up. If you truly want to stop any type of submission after the due date, then you're going to want to look at the availability date up here and setting that to become not available so that the students can simply not see it anymore. So once we've set our due date, we're going to come down here and look at recipients. Do we want this to go to all students individually or to groups of students? If we're using groups of students, we can select the groups, and once we've set up the groups tool, we can select specific groups or all groups that will be receiving this assignment. So finally, once that's done, we're going to go ahead and submit. And And we're going to see right here, here is our example assignment. And if we come down to Grade Center real fast, we're going to see that example assignment has been created inside of our Grade Center right there. So here's example assignment. So creating the assignment inside of a content area, configuring it, also creates the column inside of the gradebook. So really, two birds, one stone. So at this point, we have created and deployed our first assignment.